If you're anything like me, this video is really gonna piss you off, so watch at your own discretion, but here we go. White nationalist, racist ass, Nazi ass bitch. But personally, I identify as a Walgreens gift card, so that's just retarded.
We see a radicalization here, just like with Islam. You think that's kind of what's happening here? And also, who is the fountainhead of all this? Where is all this, extreme acceleration of rhetoric coming from?
Really don't know. I mean, I think I kind of want to say it comes from campuses, universities, and stop trying to educate people. And on that note, I'm gonna go pop some Xanax. Finally, something kind of funny. Stupid hoe. That's just being objective about it. A wound is not the same thing as a vagina. Are you kidding me? SJWs are being a social justice warrior. I mean, the SJWs, the progressives, social justice warriors. They're social justice warrior. Social justice warrior. Well, the SJW, social justice warriors. We classify them as social justice warriors. I'm not the biggest fan of the term. I think it's getting a little bit played out.
Oh, really? You think the term SJW might be a little bit played out, yeah? Maybe a little bit overused? I mean, what gave you that fucking idea? Hello there everyone and welcome to episode 37. Fucking 37, as if we've got this far, Jesus Christ. Anyway, welcome to episode 37 of The Descent of Man-osphere. Their series where I take you through the ways in which the Man-osphere and its utterly disgusting, reprehensible douchebag inhabitants are trying to reverse human evolution and drag us all back into the fucking sea. And today we're dealing with a transgender version of Milo Yiannopoulos, albeit that that's a comparison she would probably think was a compliment, but I mean I think that gives you some idea of the kind of person she is. Anyway, yes, I'm talking about Blaire White. And anyway, where to even fucking begin with Blaire White? I mean, like I say, she's basically like Milo Yiannopoulos in the sense that she shits on people like her and also therefore herself by siding with people who basically despise her for being ever so slightly different to, you know, what they consider to be normal. She's basically a transgender version of an Uncle Tom. I don't know if there's a word for that. An Aunt Jemima? I don't know what that fucking supposed to mean. But anyway, she's basically that. She's also a conservative traditionalist at heart, but she's also transgender. Like, I mean, what the actual fuck? Yeah, that's a thing, apparently, in her head. And yeah, like most conservative traditionalists, she seems to basically fucking hate trans people. And by the way, if transphobic dipshittery is something that might be triggering to you, I would suggest you skip basically this entire episode because that's most of Blaire's shtick, basically.
So today I want to talk about why people don't like trannies. Being transgender is abnormal. Hold on a second. I'm down to respond to this video, but I have to do something really quick just to make it a little bit easier for myself. It's much better. Transgenderism is a mental disorder. I do think that if someone's born male, they're male and they will die male. If someone kills themselves over being called he instead of she or vice versa, I think there's a lot bigger problems at play than just being trans. And then yes, technically it's not an actual vagina. You can't actually...
Like, what do you mean technically it's not actual vagina? It's not a vagina that developed like congenitally? Like, I mean, but...
Yes, it is literally a wound that is created.
A manly tranny is hilarious. That'll never change. That's still funny. When
It won't. But I think that when you're a transsexual and you're a male to female transsexual, your life is kind of as a caricature.
Oh, fucking hell. I mean, where to even begin with Blaire, really? I mean, her most trans antagonist video would be a video entitled Transgenderism is a Mental Disorder. Which is incorrect. But rather than take you through all of that, I thought I'd let transgender people speak for themselves. So below I've linked some brilliant videos by Zinnia Jones and Michea B that basically take you through Blaire's nonsense and bullshit and cut right through it and tell you why she's wrong, basically. So go and click on those links and watch those videos, and whilst you're there, if you want to give a cheeky little sub, it's all good. But there was one point about Blaire's transphobia that I did want to touch upon briefly, because I don't think I've seen it really sort of mentioned or talked about anywhere else. That's not to say it hasn't been talked about, I just haven't seen it. And that would be to do with Blaire's cognitive dissonance around the concept of gender being societally constructed or otherwise, as she seems to believe. Because basically she seems to think that gender is entirely a biological thing.
But in a hangout she did with superb genderqueer YouTuber ContraPoints, who you should all be subscribed to because not only is he smart, but he's fucking gorgeous. I mean, look at him. He's fucking beautiful. But anyways, in the hangout Contra and Blaire did together,
they discussed why Blaire seems to absolutely fucking despise the superb trans YouTuber Riley Dennis. And by the way, Blaire, for someone who claims that they don't really give a fuck about Riley Dennis, you seem to talk about her quite a lot.
So Riley Dennis has one of those YouTube channels that I just have a really hard time not responding to. All right, today we're going to head on over to Riley Dennis's channel and see what's going on. Most of the time, I just find Riley comical. Riley Dennis, it's not people like Riley Dennis, it's just Riley Dennis.
Yeah, but anyways, in the hangout, Blaire defended her constant and purposeful misgendering of Riley by talking about this shite.
I've never really even talked about passing on my channel ever. I don't think I've ever used the word, okay? But I have trans friends who maybe could be described as they don't pass, okay? Maybe because of height or whatever have you. But they go in certain circles and people can see that they're making an attempt. They are dressed completely as women. People are kind enough to just call them what they assume they want to be called. And that's a great system. It just works. Riley Dennis, I've never seen Riley Dennis wear a female article of clothing. Ever.
So according to Blaire, gender is biological, but also that pieces of cloth have some sort of gender transforming properties somehow, even though those pieces of cloth are only traditionally associated with women because of societal construction. I mean, what kind of fucking lunatic are you, Blaire, really? Seriously, that's fucking ludicrous. But anyways, I tried to come up with a way of summing up quite how much of a transphobic shitbag Blaire White actually is, and I couldn't do it any better than ContraPoints.
You've said a few times, you've characterized being transgender as impersonation or caricature. And you don't have to answer that now, but I just want to say that to me is a viewpoint that, I mean, if that's how you experience your gender, it's not at all it's not at all appropriate for me to say that you should do your gender differently or that you should adopt a different view towards yourself. But that view of trans people as impersonators or as caricatures is to me almost the definition of transphobia. And so to me, you publicly advocating this view, not just as a description of who you are and how you feel about your own gender, but as a kind of thing that you insist that all trans people are, or otherwise they're delusional. To me, that is damaging to trans people, and it is a basic reinforcement of a lot of non-trans people's transphobic beliefs.
Yeah, just yeah. But anyway, Blaire, if, as you seem to believe, that trans people are caricatures, and you have used that word to describe them in the past, if you believe that, why is it that you ask people to refer to you as a woman? I mean, seriously, right? You have to pick a side here. Either trans people do exist, or they don't exist. And by the way, they do exist. I mean, they just fucking do, okay? And the thing about solidarity within, like, oppressed groups is that you can't deny other people's existence without also sort of denying your own existence. Do you see the problem with your transphobic dipshittery, yeah? And ultimately, what's so frustrating about Blaire's content is that her channel basically seems to be centred around spreading misinformed bullshit to her increasingly large fan base of ravenous filth, and they really are some of the scummiest people you will ever encounter. And it's very fucking damaging to trans people, so please, Blaire, fucking educate yourself. Now, if there's one group that Blaire hates more than trans people, it would be the Muslims. So let's take a look at one of her less than enlightened videos on the subject. The video that I'm responding to here is called Islam Apologists Are Cancer.
Two things in this world that annoy me more than anything else. 1, wearing socks with sandals. 2, Islam apologists. So I think it's really difficult for most people to have an honest discussion about Islam, especially when it comes to radical terrorist acts. And you know, I was watching the debate last night, and I think that our current presidential election really shows how polarized and how just split America is on this issue. I mean, on one hand, you have Donald Trump, who has called for banning Muslims coming into the country.
Thank you for reminding us that the guy that you backed for the American presidency planned to do something that is entirely unconstitutional. Well done there.
You know, ISIS does not represent the Muslim faith.
But ISIS does represent Islam. It represents all the savage, ugly, disgusting excerpts from the Quran that you and I probably both wish didn't exist. The same way that you're cherry-picking the feel-good, you know, lovey parts of the Quran, or the same way that they're cherry-picking the ugly, savage, kill gays, kill apostates, be rewarded in heaven for killing people parts. The ugly truth is that these people are, in fact, followers of Islam, and in many cases are acting out the teachings of Islam to a T. Islam and the countries that codify it into law desperately need a reform, the same way that Christianity went through its reform as society progressed in the West and became less tolerant of the savage parts of that text.
Now, I would generally tend to agree. I think Islam could do with undergoing a reformation. I think that would be a positive thing for, well, everyone. But the thing that people like yourselves seem to sort of either forget or you don't fucking know, more likely, is that there are a few problems with that as a possibility. Because, firstly, Islam is only in its 15th century. And if you looked at Christianity in its 15th century, it hadn't gone through a reformation yet either. So quite why you're expecting Islam to have gone through one, I'm not entirely sure. And secondly, and this is probably the kicker here, right? You seem to think that any kind of reformation within a massive religion like that would be some sort of peaceful affair. And I assure you, it would fucking not. And I go by history on this one, because you seem to be forgetting the incredibly brutal violence and hugely elongated form that the Christian Reformation took. It involved untold amounts of bloodletting over the course of over a fucking century. It contains huge amounts of internecine slaughter, fucking torture, people being burnt at the stake, and even beheadings. Imagine that. And it's estimated cost the lives of around 20 million people. And the fact that European populations were vastly smaller then than they are now means that a very significant amount of the population were killed during the Reformation. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know quite what you're expecting from this, but it's going to be a massively bloody affair. And it is. And I'm sure they'll go through some sort of reformation at some point. And I think that that reformation will be a good thing. But you seem to be sort of quite flippant about the prospect of the huge amount of bloodshed that's going to happen there. Because I've watched a lot of your videos on the topic, and you seem to just think that you can just sort of breeze through a reformation. Well, every religion that's ever gone through a reformation suggests otherwise. So, you know. Shush.
It is extremely frustrating that people think that there's a link between ISIS and the Muslim faith.
Do you know what ISIS stands for, Cheetah-licious? It stands for Islamic State of Iraq and Syria.
Are you sure? Because I heard it stood for the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. Seriously, that's an actual conspiracy theory that's done the rounds. I mean, the internet never ceases to amaze me. It doesn't matter what happens in the world, regardless of what it is, literally regardless. There's always someone out there who will blame the Jews. For anything. It's ridiculous. Anyway, but as to your point there, Blaire, I don't really give a fuck what groups decide to call themselves. I mean, I really don't, because people tend to call themselves things that they're not, in order to try and seem better than they are. Like, you know, the men's rights movement, for instance, isn't a movement and isn't really about men's rights. Okay, I'm being a bit cheeky there. Okay. But how about the Democratic People's Republic of Korea? More commonly known as North Korea here in the West, but its official title is the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. But we know that it's not democratic in any fucking way whatsoever. It isn't run by the people, and it isn't a republic. It's basically a essentially hereditary monarchy at this point, right? So how about, Blaire, we look beyond what the fucking propagandist shitflingers want to call themselves and look at what they actually fucking are? Look a little bit deeper than the surface of it. Because if we don't, right, we would have to accept that the KKK isn't racist, because they say they're not racist. And we know that that's not true. No, Blaire, we know that's not true.
If you look at Islam in our text and our doctrine, Islam is a religion of peace. There's no violence, there's no imperialism.
Holy shit. Okay, reading your text is actually the easiest way to see the exact opposite. The Quran contains over 100 passages that distinctly instruct believers to enact war and violence upon non-believers.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing is, Blaire, remember earlier on in the video when you said this about cherry picking?
That you're cherry picking the feel good, lovey parts of the Quran, are the same way that they're cherry picking the ugly, savage, kill gays, kill apostates, be rewarded in heaven for killing people parts.
Yeah, well, you don't get to fucking just cherry pick the shit bits either, okay? Look, every fucking major world religion has horrible shit in their holy texts. That's part of the reason why I don't subscribe to any of them, because frankly they're all a bit shit in a number of fucking ways. But the thing is, most of the people within those religions, Muslims included, choose to ignore those shitty bits. They just live by the kind of more fluffy bits. And yes, they do embrace some of the shitty bits, but generally they don't actually try and enforce them on the rest of society. That kind of cherry picking is obviously, a much more intellectually dishonest route to go, but ultimately I think we can all sort of go with the idea that that kind of intellectual dishonesty is probably for the best of mankind.
So, final thoughts. Very frustrating topic for me personally. In the current cultural climate, it seems to be like we jump down the throats of Christians for the tiniest transgressions, and we call out Christianity and people who adhere to those beliefs really, really quickly.
Really? Really, Blaire? I mean, you should really look at who's in charge of your country right now, because, the religiously inspired bigotry of Mike Pence and the religiously inspired bigotry of Donald Trump, and the fact that those two fucking arseholes are in power right now would suggest that you're talking shit. And the fact that 45, well technically 44, but let's not go into it, okay? Fuck you, Grover Cleveland. 45 straight presidents have been Christian. At least nominally. I can't attest to their inner thoughts. I don't know what they fucking believed in terms of theology, but outwardly they were Christian. And Christians hold the vast majority of powerful positions in America. So, I mean, the idea that Christians are just some sort of hard put-upon group. I know you have to pander to your right-wing fucking, the kind of scum that infest your channel, but it's still bollocks. You're still talking shit, okay? And whilst we're on the topic of the kind of right-wing dickheads that, you have to pander to for coin, which is really pathetic, I'd just like to sort of point out to you, not that it's relevant specifically to the topic of this video, but I think it's relevant in general. Just a piece of advice for you. If they ever got the chance, right, you'd be in the fucking concentration camps with me and Christy Winters as well, so how about you stop fucking arming your enemy? That would be a thought that, you could ruminate upon further.
I think Islam, especially when it is codified into law and in countries where it has become the culture, is really antithetical towards everything that makes the Western world amazing and everything that allows me to sit here as a transgender woman and make YouTube videos and not worry about walking out of my house and getting stoned to death.
Right, firstly, whenever any religion is codified into law, it's always antithetical to freedom and to human rights and all that kind of stuff. That's what they fucking do. Religions are shitty in that way, right? So don't try and make this just about when Islam's codified into law, because it's true of all religions, or certainly all religions I've ever fucking heard of. And when you try and make it into just a problem for Islam when codified into law, that's when your mask slips, Blaire, and you reveal yourself to be the bigoted little shit that you are. Anyway, also, don't try and pretend that the US is some sort of absolute safe haven for trans folk. It's better than a lot of places, but it's not fucking perfect, okay? So whilst America is a lot better than a lot of places for trans folk to live, it's not fucking perfect, and for you to pretend otherwise just so you can juxtapose it to, oh, the Muslims, is shitty. Don't fucking do that. Now, staying on the topic of Islam, but looking at a different video, okay? Because I just before we move off the topic of Islam, I wanted to take you to one specific lie she told in a video, which combines two of her great hates in the world. Her hate for the Muslims, as we've just discussed, and her hate for Riley Dennis, which we discussed earlier on in the video. But in one of the million videos she's done about Riley Dennis, she had this bullshit to say.
Leviticus 18:22 says that it's an abomination, and Leviticus 20:13 says that if a man has sex with a man, you have to put him to death. That's pretty direct, and yet we're not saying that all Christians believe in Leviticus law and want to kill all the gay people they see.
Yeah, all Abrahamic religions have anti-gay passages, and I'm not a Christian. I'm not sitting here defending the Bible. But the point is how these passages manifest in the real world, and in the current day, Christian nations do not brutalize gays. That's a Muslim country thing.
Oh, really, Blaire?
Commotion by the jukebox machine. I see if leather jackets and tight blue jeans. Oh yeah, they're going for me, 'cause I got myself all tangled up, all upside down, dummy struck. Oh yeah, because of just one thing. Well, I know she's Jimmy's girl, but I love her. The guys
And in addition to all of that, we also have the delightful statistic, albeit also a fucking horrific statistic, but delightful in the sense that it absolutely fucking debunks Blaire's bullshit, that as of October 2016, of the 72 nations on planet Earth that make homosexuality illegal in some form or another, the majority of them are actually majority non-Muslim countries. That being 43 of the 72, so that's, you know, a very significant majority. So, you know, it's clearly not just a Muslim problem. It is a problem within Islam, absolutely. But it's also a problem in other religions and other parts of the world and stuff. So, you know, to try and make out that it's just a Muslim problem is, again, where your mask slips, Blaire, and your bigoted nature is revealed unto the world. So how about, you know, you do a little bit of research before going on and fucking embarrassing yourself again by telling blatantly untrue shit onto the world. Well, that sentence wasn't structured very well, was it? Fuck it, it's staying in. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Because now it's time for... Yes, it's the almost inevitable bit about rape. Oh, fucking hell. Sorry, Rickett. Just scared the shit out of the cat there. He's run off. Anyways, right, yes, it's the almost inevitable bit about rape. And for Blaire's one, it's sort of a tangentially related topic based on something we've already mentioned in this episode. Because she's not really the worst in the world when it comes to this topic, especially given that she at least used to describe herself as a men's rights activist. In fact, actually, she was one of the few sort of men's rightsy type people to unequivocally come out against Milo Yiannopoulos when his tapes of rape advocacy, basically child rape advocacy, came to the fore. She unequivocally condemned those, so fair play to her on that. But the thing I'm about to play you made me laugh quite enormously, because it sort of proves a point that I'd made already in this episode, and it comes from one of her 2 videos she released recently about pedophilia. Now, in terms of the content with regard to pedophilia, it's by and large okay, basically. I tend to agree with a lot of what she had to say there, but she did mention one individual person, and it made me laugh.
And I'll say this, the reaction that I got to that video was, for the most part, expected. You know, most people see a video about pedophiles and think, holy shit, that's fucked up, and it's not this huge debate. However, there were some responses to that video that I really did not expect. And a part that really shook me was the fact that more people came out of the woodwork to defend the 2 pedophiles I responded to than when I do response videos to any run-of-the-mill, you know, social justice warrior, Riley Dennis, for example. And I don't know if that's more of a commentary on Riley Dennis's likability or the size of the pedophile population.
Yes, even in a video about pedophilia, something totally unrelated to Riley, she still had to mention Riley Dennis and have a sly little dig because she's fucking obsessed for some reason. It's both sort of amusing and sort of disgusting, but you know, whatevs. Yeah, so I thought I'd bring that to you because it made me chuckle. Anyway, basically that's the end of the fucking episode. Now, the bits I didn't get round to mentioning were things like her disgusting obsession with fat shaming. She loves to fat shame people, and her hatred for Black Lives Matter, and a number of other things that show that she's a racist twat. Anywho, but I'm not going to do like a normal sort of wrap-up bit that I usually do at the end of these episodes, because below you will find linked a video which is nearly 40 minutes in length, which is a hangout I did, which went into sort of great rambling depths about the horrific nature of her content, and how it was actually a really sort of moving experience for me to go through her content, because she's foul. I mean, she really is. Yeah, horrible person. Anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna try and stop rambling. But you know, I mean, I should really script these videos a lot more tightly. But brain farts aside, yeah, below you'll find that linked if you want to see my thoughts overall and the experience of researching all this shite. But with all of that said, there's just one thing left for me to say. Sincerely, from the very bottom of my heart, Blaire White, go fuck yourself.
Nice thing for